without further ado, please warm the screen up, get those chats going, show some love for your next storyteller, SuzAnne Miller.
Much, Scott. I greatly appreciate it, and I loved your story, Dina. And I see a lot of overlap with what I'm trying to do. I'd like to tell you a little something about my online community, but rather than describing it, I'd like to recall a specific incident that really had an impact on how we evolved. And let me tell you that this goes back to what you were saying, Scott, that weaving is doing things together. And throughout the evolution of our online community, it has been done together with the people who are involved. So let me take you to my ranch on a very cold winter afternoon, a late winter afternoon. And I am here in my office operating two different web cameras, watching my herd of about 30 horses in a big 20-acre field. They're running around and they're having fun, and I'm using the cameras to interact with the people in our chat room. I call them chatters, and we're playing a game called Name That Horse. I had at that time about six black horses, and they're hard to tell apart. So I would train the cameras on a particular horse and ask people if they knew which one it was. And we would finally figure out which one it was. And then I would go through and give them some hints as to distinguishing characteristics of each one of those horses. And while we were watching, one of our biggest, oldest, and most noticeable horse named Charger fell on a big sheet of ice. I immediately called my ranch manager and asked her to drive our hay truck out there to help it. This is a common enough occurrence here at the ranch that we keep a big sheet of astroturf in our hay truck. And what we normally do is run out there and throw the astroturf down, roll the horse over so his hooves can get a little purchase, and up they come. It's just magic. And I was hopeful, frankly, of showing our viewers this little ranch trick. I knew it would impress them. But we could watch her go over. We watched the truck go into the field. She stopped the truck, got out, and dragging the astroturf behind her, she went over to the horse. And instead of laying out the astroturf, you could see her go into her pocket for her cell phone. And she called me. And she said, SuzAnne, I really think this is a serious issue. You need to come out here. So I did. I told the chatters, I said, Jamie says this is a serious issue, so I'm going to have to go out there. Do you want me to turn the cameras away? And to a person, they said, no, please let us watch. We'd really appreciate that. So I said, okay. And I left both cameras focused on the horse. So they saw me drive out there with my car. And I'll have to admit that during the drive, I was questioning myself at that point, saying, why did I do this? Why did I keep the cameras on this horse? I didn't want to be thinking about the viewers, my members on the online community. I wanted to think only about the horse and what was best for him. So I got out there, and it was really clear this was a serious thing. The horse was paralyzed. I reckoned it had broken its back or neck. So I got on the phone, and people could see me do this. And I called around till I got a vet that could come out right away. And indeed, in about 45 minutes, the vet showed up. It confirmed my diagnosis that the horse had broken its neck, and the only thing we could do would be to euthanize it. Well, euthanizing a big horse is it's a complicated thing, and it can be a very dramatic thing. But since Charger was already paralyzed, it was likely to not be too dramatic in terms of the horse's reaction. So I sat down on the ground, the snow flurrying around me, and put the horse's head in my lap. And clearly, Jamie and I were upset. We were hugging each other and crying. I mean, Charger was just this wonderful horse that had served us so well. He was the biggest horse, but he was the horse we always put little kids on. And everybody who had been on our online community completely understood this. They could pick him out of any lineup of the horses, and they were all very attached to him. They gave him a nickname of Grandpa and the Gentle Giant. So while I sat on the ground with Charger's head in my lap, the vet interjected the chemicals that went through his veins and stopped his heart. And then I sat there for a minute with Jamie, and we just cried. And I got up, drove back to my office, came into my office, and I didn't get back on my website. I wasn't ready to face the chatters. I didn't want to talk about it. I had to process this myself. So I just left the cameras on the horse's body. I mean, I moved it away, but I left the horse's body in the field, and that was because his herd mates needed to go over and sniff it and understand that he had died. Horses are very social, have a hierarchy of sociability, and very concerned about one another. So understanding of death is important for them as well. So the next day, I called the crew to come and get his body and to haul it away, and I was going to have it cremated. So I got back on the website to reconnect with the chatters. Before doing that, I read their chats from the night before, the day before, when we had euthanized Charger, and I was just blown away by the tone of the conversations that the members had held. They not only talked about death of pets and death of people that they knew, but they talked about their own mortality. I think there was something about watching an animal, not a person, die, but an animal that sort of opened up an avenue for people to talk about something that they were facing. And I have to say that the majority of our members are elderly people who are homebound. And so this gave them a way of connecting on something that they were all thinking about, but nobody talked about. So when I got on, they had a lot of questions for me, for sure. They wanted to know why I left the body there, and I explained the social aspects of the whole herd. And they recognized that and talked about how important it was for people to process that. And they didn't realize it was important for horses, but then they made the connection. So they also were very gracious to me personally. They recognized that this was a hard thing for me to do. Um, but I have to admit that this incident really changed my attitude towards the online community. For one thing, I realized people weren't there for entertainment, they were there for life. They wanted to participate in real life. They enjoyed the entertainment, but the real things were what brought forward the real conversations. So within a day of Charger's death, this beautiful floral arrangement arrived at the ranch, and we took and put it in his now empty stall and did a live stream broadcast in which we all shared Charger stories. And that went on for about an hour or so. And I read the chat over the air so people could hear the voices of or the voices of the people who were on the chat. At any rate, then within 10 days, I got a gift certificate for an apricot tree, and the members had asked me to plant that apricot tree over Charge's ashes in our orchard. They wanted to watch it grow and to see it and remember Charger. I was blown away, frankly, by all of this. It never occurred to me that they needed to make this place their place, that that the agency to have an impact on what this place looks like, i.e., plant a tree, was a very important part of their sense of belonging. And I think that that's really an important aspect for online communities is having a place where you have agency, where you have an impact on what's going on. Really brings people together in a way that nothing else allows. So this is a really deeply held community that takes each other very seriously and takes care of each other. I have felt it personally. Thank you.
Yes, give it up for Suzanne. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. It was such a touching story. Rest in peace, Charger. Suzanne, tell me a little bit more about. I'm really curious. During our coaching and our talking, you talked about a time when we talked about your illness a little bit earlier about you becoming one of your own kind of part of your own community. Tell me about that and how the community looked out for you.
Well, I'm a retired biometrician, so it was natural for me to respond to the University of Montana, who wanted to put a web camera above my osprey's nest with a resounding yes. I was all in. I really wanted to learn more about ospreys. But what I didn't understand was that within a year of putting up the osprey web camera, we had 800,000 people watching. And then I went to turn the camera off at the end of the osprey breeding season, and scores of people, hundreds of them, called me, emailed me, texted me, and said, Twittered me at that in those days, please don't do that. We want to watch your ranch. And my first reaction was, get a life. What do you mean you want to watch my ranch? I did not understand. And then a second thing happened to me. I became very ill, gravely ill. I ended up in an ICU for 2 weeks and homebound for 6 months. So, what did I do to pass my time? I became one of my own viewers. I watched and tweeted with other viewers, and suddenly I completely understood that if your world has shrunk to four walls, having a portal to a natural place where all kinds of wildlife and nature things are happening is just a completely different thing than watching TV in isolation. It made me understand on a visceral level how important it is to share experiences. And I think that's what real live streaming does is everybody's in this together. Nobody has an edge on what's happening. Nobody edits it. It's all us together. Just like you said, Scott, we were creating this community together.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your story so much. Thank you, Suzanne. Give it up for one more time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.